Everybody, welcome back to the Bible Podcast 101. I'm Tommy.
And it's Nick.
Hey, I know we've been away for a little bit. Life has kind of caught up with us. But if you're interested in knowing what's been going on in our lives, check out our last episode. It's not a Bible podcast like sit-down episode where we talk about the Bible. It's just a life update and what's been going on. Exciting things going on in our small group. We also invested in a new mic so that you guys could hear us more clearly. Maybe you can turn us down in your cars or when you're listening through your AirPods now. So I think it sounds great and it's a lot more clear. So it was a good investment. I think.
You can see it in the window here, but we have this legit mic-looking mic.
Yeah, official podcasters now. Thank you.
Thanks guys for encouraging us. Yeah, it seems like it's been a hit. Generally for Sunday, we just did another little project on this church initiative, and we want to podcast more about not just Genesis, but Acts and this other church stuff that we're doing.
Absolutely. So today we're going to be talking about Genesis 8 because that's what we're on. Mm-hmm. So Nick, would you like me to start reading, or do you want to take over?
I could read. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're back in Genesis with Noah. I know we left it off at that cliffhanger before the flood, and we haven't talked in 2 months. But yeah, it should be fairly quick. Just some more information on what Noah was doing post-flood. We're in chapter 8, verse 1. But God remembered Noah and all the wild animals and the livestock that were with him in the ark. And he sent a wind over the earth, and the waters receded. Now the springs of the deep and the floodgates of the heavens had been closed, and the rain had stopped falling from the sky. The waters receded steadily from the earth. At the end of 150 days, the water had gone down. And on the 17th day of the 7th month, the ark came to rest in the mountains of Ararat. The waters continued to recede until the 10th month, and on the first day of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains became visible. Any quick thoughts?
Just a lot of describing and adjectives in there. A lot of numbers too. Mm-hmm. 17th, 7th month,
right.
10th month, the first day of the 10th month. So a lot in there that you could really probably deep dive into, but potentially.
Yeah. And then with Noah, I think his patience is highlighted here because he obeyed. He got all the animals on the ark.
Yes.
The waters are rising for 40 days.
Yes.
His communities are getting destroyed. So it's pretty gloomy out.
Yeah.
For sure.
Actually, good point. Imagine people go on 10-day cruises or whatever, and people get they're over it by the end of 10 days. So imagine seeing the human race wiped out, right, and you're pretty much it, and then all these animals are with you, which they probably don't smell that great, and you're on this giant ark for 40 days, and you're like, when is this going to end so that I could just be done?
Yeah. But yeah, verse 1, but God remembered Noah. I think we mentioned before, there's always a but God whenever there's some verses with you might be dead to your transgressions, but God,
yes,
full of grace and mercy, does this.
Yeah.
All this bad stuff is happening, the destruction's happening, but God remembered Noah, his creation. He remembers the plan that he has for Noah, and the wild animals, the livestock. So yeah, praise God that he remembers us. He doesn't want to just leave us behind.
Yeah, doesn't abandon us.
Yeah, for sure. I think with the numbers, so we have 40 days of flood, we have 150 days of recession, receding waters. And I think maybe the 7th month to the 10th month is just 3 more months on top of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did I throw that out? Yeah. I think maybe later on we read about 150 days, or the previous verse. I think chapter 7, the previous verse says that it started to recede for 150 days. Mm-hmm. This period, so 40 days, 150 days, which is 190 days, so about almost towards 6-7 months, and then an additional 3 months here for more recession, and then 40 more days, verse 6. You could read onward.
Yeah. Take it. After 40 days, Noah opened a window he had made in the ark and sent out a raven, and it kept flying back and forth until the water had dried up from the earth. Then he sent out a dove to see if the water had receded from the surface of the ground. But the dove could but the dove could find nowhere to perch because there was water all over the surface of the earth. So it returned to Noah in the ark. He reached out his hand and took the dove and brought it back to himself in the ark. He waited 7 more days and again sent out the dove from the ark. When the dove returned to him in the evening, there in its beak was a freshly plucked olive leaf. Then Noah knew the water had receded from the earth. He waited 7 more days and sent the dove out again, but this time it did not return to him. So interestingly, now that I've read that passage, you mentioned there's an exclamation point, which our viewers can only see this if they're
Right.
following along. Verse 11, when the dove returned him in the evening, there in its beak was a freshly plucked olive leaf, but there's like an exclamation point, and Nick brought it to my attention. Like, oh, kind of interesting. Now, after reading that, makes sense because like that would be a good sign to Noah. Like, oh, hey, like it brought back like an olive leaf, which means that it plucked it, so the surface of the earth must be like dried
Fresh,
up.
yeah.
Fresh.
Yeah, it's not just watery decay. Sorry for Jersey in the bark. And then, when he sends out the dove again and that it doesn't return to him, it's likely just out there then living its life and nesting, and
Right.
it's okay to live, and there's land and there's less, it's viable again. It can produce life.
Yeah.
But that exclamation point, I was noting that usually you see that in like direct quotations, like people are talking and like, oh, exclamation this. But it's just interesting that this is part of the third person narration in like these first 5 books of the Bible written by Moses. So I wonder if he's adding some spice, like he's like recalling this story. He's inspired by God, recalling the creation of the world and this flood. And he's like, God remembers Noah, and then he sends out doves, like a raven, then a dove. There's no news, there's no life.
Yeah.
But then exclamation, there's a leaf. So it's just so random.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also wonder, like, it says he waited 7 more days and sent out the dove again, but this time it did not return to him. I'm wondering if, like, there's really any significance to the dove not returning. Is that, like, I guess there's a couple ways. Like, I'm like, did the dove die? Or is the dove just now flying around because there's no reason for it to return because it could go all over the earth?
Yeah.
So-
I think it's like, it's living now. It
Okay.
it doesn't have to go
Like,
back to
it's,
Noah.
like, not going back to...
It can start living its life, nesting, finding more.
Jersey's a little feisty tonight.
Yeah. But we have a few more verses.
Short,
Yeah.
You want to read on from 13?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
By the first day of the first month, Noah's 601st year, the water had dried up from the earth. Noah then removed the covering from the ark and saw that the surface of the ground was dry. By the 27th day of the second month, the earth was completely dry. Then God said to Noah, "Come out of the ark, you and your wife, your sons, and their wives. Bring out every kind of living creature that is with you, birds, the animals, all the creatures that move along the ground, so they can multiply on the earth and be fruitful and increase in number on it."
You know what's kind of interesting about that? It says very specifically, by the 27th day of the second month, the earth was completely dry.
Mm-hmm.
You know how, like, somebody wrote this book a long time ago.
Sure, yeah.
And they have months
Yeah,
and
yeah,
days,
yeah.
but it's not like they're saying the 100th day of the 15th month of the year.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
I kind of find that interesting. It's pretty accurate.
True, yes.
Like, because a lot, you know what I'm like.
Yeah.
A lot of times people are like, well, like, there's like inaccuracies in the Bible, but I'm like, wow, they really established months and days pretty early on if you really think about it. So it kind of makes you think like these, maybe give some credibility to these people that they're not just like making numbers and stuff up.
Yeah,
if
true.
that makes
Yeah.
sense to you.
Yeah,
I don't know if you're following where I'm trying to go with it.
I'm not like a linguistics master, and like with the Greek and whatever original translation, I'm sure they have months, yeah.
Right, that's my point.
Or like the original Hebrew.
It's already, but I'm saying like they've established
yeah.
like that in society. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah.
That early on. That's just my thought process.
Moses, yeah. Uh-huh. Good question. I'm not sure.
I wish I knew.
Let's read on.
Okay, from 20.
Yeah.
All right. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord, and taking some of all the clean animals and clean birds, he sacrificed burnt offerings on it. The Lord smelled the pleasing aroma and said in his heart, Never again will I curse the ground because of humans, even though every inclination of the human heart is evil from childhood, and never again will I destroy all living creatures as I have done. Pause. I think that's really important to go over.
Yeah.
Never again will I curse the ground because of humans, even though every inclination of the human heart is evil from childhood. So people often say like, oh, I'm a good human, like I just want to be a good human. And it's like, okay, what is your definition of good? Because I don't think where are you establishing your morals from? Because sometimes people will argue like morals come from just like human evolution, and I 100% disagree with that. And here God's saying like human heart is evil even from childhood when you're supposed to be the most pure. So at the end of the day, like without Jesus coming to save us and without acceptance of Jesus, our heart's gonna be evil, and like our thoughts, no matter how like, oh, you know, I held the door open for this person, or I donated some money here, like it doesn't matter what your good works do, because at the end of the day, like everyone's inclination is still sinful and evil. No matter how hard we try, we're never gonna make up for it without Jesus. So like right there, early in the Bible, we're talking like what, eighth chapter of the Bible, and it's saying humans are evil. Like nothing we can really do about it other than try to accept Jesus and live that lifestyle.
Yeah, in Romans it says like all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God on some level.
Yes.
Here with this childhood, I want to make the distinction that, you know, Adam and Eve, that picture was created good.
Right.
Like, those two. Once they sinned and started having children, then that bloodline is cursed, right?
Yes.
Every inclination from the children then are cursed. But yeah, God had every perfect creation, a good creation. It was just the temptation and then the twisting, and Eve and Adam, they disobey, and then the downfall spirals.
Yeah, and what's interesting from my Catholic background is a lot of people ask, like, you know, I was baptized as a baby because I grew up in the Catholic Church before attending Bayside. But what's interesting is people are like, well, why would you get baptized as a baby? Like, why do Catholics believe baptizing babies? Well, it's that original sin. Like, the human heart is evil from childhood. So it's that original sin passed down from Adam and Eve that the Catholics at least believe like cleanse immediately, right? Whereas there's another school of thought too, like why don't you like give the child a chance to get older and actually understand they're accepting Jesus.
Right.
So I see both, you know, I see how both are there, and that's exactly where I believe Catholics probably get that from, is that line right there.
Definitely. Verse 26, there's some piece of like promise, and the next chapter there's all this covenant that God says to Noah, but here's a piece of it that never again will I curse the ground because of humans. So just leading on to like, this big event happened, and then never again will I curse.
Or destroy all living creatures.
Right? Yes. This is just like a small thought that's kind of going on in my mind, but just translating this to the New Testament and Jesus, you know, just comparing the parallel, it might be a stretch. Verse 1, verse 2, no, verse 1.
You want me to read that really quick?
Sure, yeah.
But God remembered Noah and all the wild animals and the livestock that were with him in the ark, and he sent a wind over the earth, the waters receded. Now the springs of the deep and the floodgates of the heavens had been closed, and the rain had stopped falling from the sky.
Just the idea that God sends a wind over the earth, I don't know how significant it is, but after Jesus dies and resurrects, and after he goes away after the 40 days, the Holy Spirit comes in a wind. And I'm just thinking there's like some parallels here, because there's 40 days of flooding, and then it starts to renew, and then a wind comes. It's a strange parallel that, after Jesus dies and resurrects, after this big moment, he goes down, but then there's all this grace and mission after. That the Holy Spirit is sent through a wind. And then that last verse, like starting with the promise and the covenant, that, after this wipe out, and now there's covenant and goodness. So with Jesus, after suffering, and if you're with Jesus, you die to your sin, then there comes faith and grace and promise after you're part of his family. So yeah, whatever that thought resonates with you, I think it's interesting, just like the Old Testament and the New Testament, just a pattern that there's old things happening, but then there's new covenant and new promise ahead afterwards, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Wrap it up with 22.
Yeah.
So as long as the earth endures, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night will never cease. It's kind of interesting because it's like he's not promising it won't cease, but he's saying as long as the earth endures. So it makes you wonder, like, well, how long is the earth gonna, you know?
There's a lot of foreshadowing, and it says like end time stuff, right? And the earth will be scarred in a way, and then
just go read Revelations and figure it out for yourself.
And then there's a new heaven and a new earth to come. So as long as this earth endures, we have the seasons, day and night, we'll still be here, and so far that's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just a snippet. I know next chapter there's a lot more things happening with the characters. But yeah, glad we could get back into podcasting and have time for you guys. But yeah, we live our lives. Tommy works night shift sometimes, and he's balancing out his post-training and actual careerhood. So yeah, it's we hope you have grace for us. We love doing this, and we love putting our best foot forward. So we don't want to be stressed. We don't want to be burdened. We want to serve out of joy, bear that fruit of the Spirit, and be peaceful, and just bring a good workout for God. And it doesn't have to be pressured and forced, but we want to have a genuine, good production for you guys. So we hope you liked it, and then hopefully there's more to come.
Yeah, absolutely. We hope you have a good week, everybody.
Yeah, guys, happy Labor Day. Peace.